Hey everyone, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today we are talking about ISIS, if you remember those jerks, because they are still around online and evading Facebook detection. And I think this actually opens up something about censorship here, because nobody's really a fan of ISIS except for ISIS. But if they're evading all of these, is the censoring that Facebook, Twitter's, and others doing really effective, and therefore effective in catching other things? Now, here's what's going on, and this is coming from a report from the BBC, and it's absolutely interesting here. A new report claims that Facebook accounts linked to ISIS or the Islamic State are basically finding ways to evade detection on Facebook, the largest social media platform on the planet. One of ISIS's tactics is actually to mix its material with content from real news outlets, such as recorded TV shows, and then basically put their content in there. So in other words, I would talk here for 30 seconds, and then after my 30 seconds of, let's say, news, because let's say I was hosting the BBC, it would cut, and then the ISIS video would begin. And that's obviously a very serious issue here to get around that, because as Facebook's looking at this, that is evading it. Another ISIS tactic is basically to hijack Facebook accounts and then post tutorial videos basically to teach other jihadists how to hijack Facebook accounts as well. Now, these tactics were often able to exploit the gaps in both the automated and manual moderation systems that Facebook has, and essentially this is generating tens of thousands of views of ISIS material on their platform. ISIS supporters were also found plotting and preparing to launch quote-unquote raids on other Facebook pages, including those belonging to the United States military and political leaders. So, for example, one such attack targeted President Trump's Facebook page with fake African American accounts. Another put images of the September 11th attack on the U.S. Department of Defense and Air Force Academy pages along with ISIS messages. Now, researchers at ISD, this is the outfit that published this study, say that they watched in real time as these intrusions and instructions were basically going on. And so they saw instructions that were posted for followers to flood comment sections of sites with terrorist material. Another key to the survival of ISIS content on Facebook is basically the way the ISIS supporters have learned to modify the content and evade controls. And so this included some of their tactics, which were breaking up text and using strange punctuation to avoid any tools which would search for keywords, blurring ISIS branding, or adding Facebook's own video effects. As you know, you can kind of edit videos, and we've all seen those stupid videos where people put like dog ears or whatever on themselves, that kind of thing. Adding branding of mainstream news outlets over the top of ISIS content, such as slapping a BBC or CNN or Fox News or whatever logo on it. And so as their scanners are looking at it and they're seeing, let's say, the CNN or BBC or whatever logo, it is automatically being passed through the scanner. Now, Facebook has tried to develop ways of avoiding taking down mainstream news content which contains excerpts of ISIS material. And this was basically an attempt to exploit all of this by ISIS. And so essentially what they are trying to do is say, hey, we are trying to discern, let's say, a legit CNN video from one that has, 30 seconds of CNN and then, an hour of ISIS. And I think that the problem that we have here then is, by virtue of this is a tactic that is commonly known. ISIS didn't develop this. In fact, I want to say it was about 3 weeks to a month ago where I had that exact video where I talked for 30 seconds about how technology, has affected us in the coronavirus and all of that. And then I put the brakes on that and actually talked about, the explosion of monitoring apps in abusive relationships and situations, delivering information to my listeners and my viewers on how, if you are in an abusive relationship, you can get help. And the goal of that is, if somebody looks at the history of that person and they just see me blathering on about tech amazingness, the goal is that the abuser would skip it and the information would still be there, safe for the person that is being abused. This is what ISIS is doing, obviously for very horrible and awful situations, but it really underscores, I think, another point that we have to discuss, and that is censorship. Obviously, Facebook, Twitter, etc. have been in the news recently for various forms of what many people call censorship. Others, don't call it or consider it censorship, such as fact-checking, which I don't think is censorship. So if I post out something that's demonstrably false, and Facebook or Twitter decides to say, hey, you know what, here's an article from a reputable source that refutes Nick's tinfoil hat theory and all of that. That's not censorship in the sense that they are not restricting me from saying what I want to say, but they are offering an opposing viewpoint. This goes above and beyond that. And there are some people that will, let's say, not have civility, maybe due to anonymity or the fact that nobody can reach through the monitor and punch them. They will go off on screeds or some very harsh and horrible things. A lot of people want that censored and all of that. Facebook looks to, let's say, police that. And I am not talking about criminal stuff, but what ISIS is doing, I think, borders on that. There is obviously criminal stuff that ISIS does. Nobody wants to see ISIS alive. But at the same token, ISIS can sit there and state their case for why they should exist. And technically, in the United States at least, they have the First Amendment right to do that and not get censored. And so the question then becomes, what is that line? And is basically ISIS's way of evading the scanners and Facebook, the scanners that Facebook and others have, I think really underscores, one, a lack of effectiveness on Facebook's part and others as well, but two, that means anybody else can do this. And so while ISIS is obviously going to post demonstrably criminal things like, how to blow up a building or whatever ISIS is into, and they are into some horrible, horrible things, where is the line? And I think that's a very important question, not to mention the fact I think this really underscores the fact that Facebook and others need to step up their game when they are looking at this kind of content. Maybe they need to hire 10 times more people. Maybe they need to improve their AI that watches the entire video and not just the 30 seconds looking for the BBC logo or whatever that is. These are important questions that we have to have. But as we move forward with social media and other platforms and whatever they take, we have to understand that we're going to bring the good with the bad. And having a tough conversation or being uncomfortable because somebody has told you something that you fundamentally disagree with shouldn't necessarily be censored, I don't think, so much as it should be recognized for what it is and possibly refuted, debated, or ignored. And that's kind of the way that I think we all grew up, at least, people of my generation. So there you go. That is what it is. I hope Facebook is able to stop and wipe ISIS off the face of Facebook's earth. Same with Twitter and every major platform. But here we are with the other question, and I leave it to you, and that is your news of the day. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP, and please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, guys.